Good morning, Flagler County. I'm Rich Carroll. You're listening to Flagler's Morning News on Friday, March 24th.
This ended up being really a gem of a site.
That's Commissioner Andy Dance touting the location of the new Flagler County Visitor Center. Amy Cherry has more.
The County Commission approved spending an extra $500,000 to locate the center on State Road 100 next to the Heritage Trail and a future pedestrian bridge. Commissioner Dave Sullivan.
The trails, it's going to connect in all the way from the southern part of the county right up to the northern end, which will be a tremendous asset for our ecotourism, along with the beaches and the coastline.
Dance loves this site, not just for its location, but also its rich history.
There's a unique historical component to the site. The old Moody Road passed just south of this property, and there's bricks still within the area that have been uncovered and are still visible. And we can tie a lot of this site into the history of Flagler County and the opportunities to talk about the headwaters of the Below Creek, that beautiful piece of property, and additional trails heading down south to tie into the Below Ruins and Ormond's trail systems.
Sullivan bragged.
On Interstate 95 from Maine to Florida, the closest point to the Atlantic Ocean is the Route 100 interchange. And so location of this site just off that interchange and our new bicycle pedestrian bridge is ending up really being ideal, especially since we own the property and we don't have to buy the property.
Amy Lukasik, Director of Tourism for Flagler County, says placing the visitor center at this site will align with an initiative in their strategic plan to develop and enhance ecotourism.
Ecotourism and trails is now a part of a priority for the Northeast Florida Regional Council, and they have formed a steering committee to address as a region how we can better improve, enhance, and develop and promote our trails and ecotourism product as a region. And with that, they formed a steering committee, which myself and Commissioner Dance will represent Flagler County.
Flagler's additional $500,000 contribution will serve as a local match as they hope to obtain $8 million in federal grant money to build the center. The future visitor center would be more than 10,000 square feet and would cost $6.5 million. From the WNZF Newsroom, I'm Amy Cherry.
This local news is a service of Flagler County's Toyota dealer, Beaver Toyota US 1 St. Augustine, here to wow you. Palm Coast City Council creates a policy that requires survey questions released by the city to be first approved by council.
Vice Mayor Ed Danko says he made a motion to create the policy after getting complaints on a recent city survey's gender identification question.
Since obviously staff wouldn't do this, they didn't handle it, I've lost trust in that. What they need to do, they have a survey, we need to get it well in advance, and then if any council member has questions or concerns, they bring it up at council and we hammer it out and make a decision.
Council members Kathy Hyder and Nick Klufis concurred.
I agree that it would be a good idea for us to be able to review the surveys prior to them being sent out. I'm in agreement with that.
Councilman?
Yep, I think it's great. I'm not certain that we need a formal resolution or anything like that. That's where my stance is just be daily operations, but that's a great expectation to have, is that we'll give it at least one shot to look at it as a council before it goes out to the public.
Assistant City Manager Lauren Johnston pointed out the survey was created by a third-party consultant.
This consultant was one that the city and the county hired together to do this product for us. It was identified in their scope of service. There's going to be several additional surveys that come to City Council as we review the comp plan. So it's a part of that service that we're rendering.
Danko says regardless of who created the survey, the question was inappropriate.
People should be able, number one, they ask a question like, what's your race? People can say not answering, refuse to answer that type of question. What's your income? You can refuse to answer that question, but don't ask people what they identify as.
The council voted unanimously to put the policy in place. For Flagler's Morning News, I'm Rich Petchke.
Unemployment is on the rise in Flagler County.
Flagler County's unemployment rate increased 0.5 percentage point to 3.2%, according to the January 2022 data released from the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity. Greg Blase, president and CEO of the Palm Coast Flagler Regional Chamber, explains the unusual statistic.
We see this happen every year in Flagler County, where we see the seasonal hiring pick up in October and November, and then right after December, we will see those jobs kind of go away and disappear. What happened this time was the retailers hired those people for the holiday shopping season, and they did let them go, but the rest of the economy also continued hiring. So we actually have more jobs now than we did before.
The Flagler County labor force has grown to more than 51,000 residents, checking in at 51,248 residents in January of this year. For Flagler's Morning News, I'm Karen Johnson.
What does the Elks Lodge do locally?
Bob Williams is the exalted ruler of the Palm Coast Elks Lodge. He said Lodge 2709 supports 2 local charities so that they can help those in need in Flagler County. He said on a recent episode of Lifeline that the Grand Lodge offers the local lodge grants.
We gave $6,500 to the Family Life Center in Bunnell.
That's where adults and children in crisis can stay.
And we've given to St. Elizabeth and Seton Church. We were able to give them another $6,000.
Williams said they fed some 1,700 families through their food pantry last year. Lifeline is on WNZF on Saturday mornings at 9 and on the Flagler radio app. From the WNZF newsroom, I'm Deb Albertson.
And now you're up to date on Flagler's Morning News. I'm Rich Carroll.
And now, Mike Licio with your WNZF local sports update.
It's spring break in Flagler County. For many, that means a road trip. The Bulldog baseball team is no different. They spent the week at a tournament down in Sanford. It started off rough with losses to Delray American Heritage and Coral Springs, but the Bulldogs got back on track yesterday with a win over Davie Western 3-2. Tristan Miller won 6 to pick up the win. Dalton Howell hit a sac fly in the top of the 7th to give FPC the lead, and then closed out on the mound in the bottom half, picking up the save. The Bulldogs continue to generate runs despite only 1 hit in the game, that off the bat of Carson Fliss. It's FPC's 3rd win in 8 days. Bulldog head coach Kyle Marsh on winning this time of year.
I think it was important for us just to kind of get some confidence back under our belts. We kind of shuffled in the middle of the season. Our bats just weren't there. We were taking too many pitches, so I think it was huge for us to kind of get some confidence going.
Just 1 game this week for Pirate Baseball. They made the trip to Port Orange Monday, taking down the Atlantic Sharks 12-3. Ben Affelbach was the star of the show, going 3 for 4 with 2 doubles and 3 RBI. Josh Cope had 2 hits, and Joel Gargone picked up the win. Matanzas coach Jim Perry on his team's progress.
We're still trying to figure out where all the pieces of the puzzle are going to fit. We just got to continue to work, put people in situations, find out exactly what they can and cannot do, looking for the best result for the Matanzas Pirates.
Only 1 game this week for Bulldogs softball, a 12-2 win over Beachside Wednesday. FPC remains undefeated on the season. I asked pitcher Alexis Laura, does it feel like the makings of a special season?
It sure does.
1 other score this week, Flag Football Tuesday, Taylor 20, Matanzas nothing. 1 game today, Matanzas boys lacrosse is at Cocoa Beach. Track and field, FPC is at the Tokoi Showdown today at 3 and at the FSU Relays in Tallahassee this weekend. We have local sports updates Mondays and Fridays. From the WNZF Sports Desk, I'm Mike Licio.